Heavyweight fight coming up next. And again, you're just not going to have to wait that long on these parlays. I didn't plan it this way, but that's how it works. Maurice Greene, 9-5, coming in here against Greg, the Prince of War Hardy, who is 6-2 at this point. And man, I've got a little bit of an attachment to Maurice Greene, because if y'all remember a couple months ago, we had the Greene by submission prop in round 3 that broke the internet. We were getting 10-1 on that bad boy when he fought a fat off the couch Gian Vellante right when COVID was just getting started. That was a fun evening for us, to say the least. But now he's fighting a real fighter. He's fighting an absolute animal in Greg Hardy, an athlete that most people just can't seem to match when it comes to his physical size, his stature. You know, he's meant for fighting, in my opinion, James.
Absolutely. I really like Greg Hardy here. The odds, obviously, very much in his favor at -310, a little steep for my liking for a heavyweight fight. One of the things I've heard people talk about, at least some of the chatter on social media, is how big Mo Greene is, but they're about the same size. I think you got to look a little bit closer here. Greg Hardy's 6'5" with an 80.5-inch reach. Mo Greene is 6'7" with an 82-inch reach. So not a huge reach advantage or height advantage here for Mo Greene. So they're going to be kind of similar that way. And that's something that Mo's had as an advantage in a lot of his fights, is being able to utilize the height and reach. It's not going to really work here in the case. Hardy's a lot faster. Hardy's got knockout power. I don't think he'll go out there and knock out Mo Greene. He could. I mean, Sergey Pavlovich did that in the first round. Maybe if Hardy comes out guns a-blazing, it can absolutely happen. But I think we forget that Greg Hardy's actually gone the distance in his last 3 fights. I know the one was a no contest, but that would have been a decision victory had they not had Inhaler Gate not come into play, so to speak. So Hardy's he's just a better athlete, and he's younger. And there's a lot to like about Hardy here, and that's why he's such a big favorite. But I'm going to throw a prop bet out at you that you probably wouldn't think of, that's actually got some crazy value. Greg Hardy by decision is like +330. I'm absolutely taking a stab at that. Mo Greene, yes, he's been finished. I thought he looked terrible about Gian Vellante. I think he was on his way to losing that fight had he not got the stoppage. But at the same time, this is a guy who has kickboxing experience. He came over. The first time I've ever interviewed Mo Greene was before he was on Tough and he was fighting in Glory. And, this is a guy that, has good striking. It's just that at times he doesn't have the best striking defense. I don't think Hardy will go out there and starch him. This isn't like a Dmitry, who's the guy he fought that was just awful? Dmitry Smolakiev. It's not going to be like that. But I could see Hardy just going out there, keeping the fight standing. He's not going to take this fight to the ground. I mean, obviously Mo has a weakness there, but that's not Hardy's game. Hardy's game is to try and outstrike you. He's going to be too fast, too much better. But I think Hardy is either going to finish this, but I am going to take a stab at the decision prop just because that's some crazy odds there. +330 for a guy that should clearly win this fight. I'm going Greg Hardy here. So I really like Hardy, and I definitely like that decision prop.
James, it's so funny that you mentioned that, man. Seriously, first off, props for sniping that kind of a parlay. We love those big, juicy lines here on the Die Hard MMA podcast, as you know. And that's kind of the way I was looking here at this one as well, because Greg Hardy has shown a patience that is beyond his years in the game so far, in my opinion. The UFC is pulling him along, giving him the perfect setups, the perfect next opponent. And when he tried to take that step up against Alexander Volkov, we've seen what Volkov is capable of now. People realized he was flying under the radar. It was just a little too much, a little too soon. Maurice Greene, I don't even want to say he's discount Volkov, because it's worse than that. He has the same stature. He's going to have that reach, that range that Greg Hardy struggled with against Volkov, but he doesn't use it nearly as effectively or efficiently. And I absolutely think that Greg is going to have learned from his last fight, and he's going to implement those tools that he gathered to just destroy Maurice Greene. The only issue that I have, now again, this is going to close out my parlay. I've got Bobby Greene parlayed with Greg Hardy. That comes to -125. I'm going to lay 2.5 units to win 2 on that parlay. I see Greg Hardy winning this fight. And the only reason I did the parlay instead of doing like you're doing with the prop or something like that is Maurice Greene really doesn't like getting hit. Yeah. Now, I know I'm a couch jockey. I can sit here comfortably with my stupid green screen behind me because of my damn technical issues again, and I can talk about how bad these fighters can be and stuff. I respect every single MMA fighter out there. Let me once again get that out of the way. But Maurice Greene is a guy who controls the range, and when you close the pocket and you hit him, he just doesn't react well. He covers up, he turns away, he tries to run out of there. He almost got knocked out by Gian Vellante. I mean, this guy just doesn't have that third gear. You know what I mean? When these guys dig deep and they really go for the win, Maurice Greene is the guy that'll shell up and he'll take the TKO loss. So I'm a little worried about Greg Hardy landing that knockout, But if we're talking from a value side of things, plus 330 on Greg Hardy to go the distance, because that seems to be his preferred method of victory, I like that a lot.
There you go. Yeah, we agree on that one. We've agreed on a lot on this card, but maybe we'll disagree a little bit further up on here. We'll see.
Man, I got to tell you, this card is tough not to agree on because the bookmakers, they get paid to do their job right. You know what I mean? If you've got minus 250 and minus 300 favorites over across the entire card, it's going to be really hard to snuff out some underdogs on that kind of a card. And you know what? Last week, I got to go back to UFC 253. I took a shot on Gaethje because I felt like that was just the time that Khabib was going to have a letdown. And I felt like Sam Alvey was incredibly underrated. And Da Un Jung is just not deserving of that 3-1 tag. These favorites are deserving of their tags. You know, you've got Alexander Hernandez, who has every advantage over Chris. You've got Yanez, who's taking on a guy with 6 professional fights. Sean Strickland, who's taking on Jack Marshman, who's on the chopping block and is probably the bottom rung of the UFC division, probably not going to have a job after Saturday. Justin Ledet, who we talked about being served up to buff out the resumes of people. You know, Courtney Casey taking on Priscilla Cachoeira, who's, again, she's on the chopping block after this one as well. Like, it's unfortunate because I love my underdogs. I love taking those shots, but none of these dogs are worth rolling the dice on